Hello everybody and welcome back. In preparation for a couple videos I will be making going over how I edit my videos, I thought I would go over another video on some of the different keybinds I have. Because as you can see, if I switch over to the default and switch back and forth, I've changed a lot of my keys to try to sort of be able to edit as fast as possible for myself. So I thought I'd make a video just showing off some of the different keybinds that I have. And maybe those of you who also use Adobe Premiere might get a little bit of an idea of some different ones that you might want to use that you didn't know about. I'm just going to warn, none of these keybinds are like anything crazy hidden. I've mostly just moved a bunch of keybinds closer to the left side of my keyboard so that I can edit with basically one hand, because on the default layout everything's kind of spread around and I like to be able to click around on the timeline while editing using my keybinds on like the left side of the keyboard. So who knows, maybe this will help some of you and maybe not. And if you don't like my keybinds, then I mean the good thing is you don't have to use them. So starting off, if you don't even know how to change keybinds, if you've just always been using the default keybinds, you can go up here to the edit tab and go down to keyboard shortcuts, and that will bring you to the keybinds that you will be able to change. If you want to edit a keybind, make sure you click on the key, and then you can see this is the default command right here that is set to that key. If you want to remove it, you can just hit X, the little X here, and you'll see the key will go gray. And then if you want to add something to it, what you can do is you can search for a keybind and then click and drag onto that key. And once you have the keys that you want set, you can just hit save as and actually save it as a preset so that you can switch back and forth. Obviously, I'm going to delete this one. I'll start off just by clicking on the different keys so that you can see which command is set to each one. If you don't care about this part, you can skip ahead, or if you want to copy them down, you can do that right now so that you can sort of follow along in this video. One thing you'll notice is that some of these keys have like a little green slash through them, and basically what this means is that there are multiple keybinds attached to one key. And usually if it has multiple keybinds attached, that means that certain keybinds only work when selecting certain panels. Basically, you can kind of ignore some of the secondary keybinds on these. I just thought I'd mention it if you were wondering what they are. So those are the main keys that I use. I don't really use any of the ones on the right. I also don't use any of the like Control, Shift, and the Alt keys. I'm pretty sure these are default, but I'm going to show these anyways just in case you're interested. And one last thing before I start showing off my keybinds. One thing I've done to my Premiere, if you go up to Edit, Preferences, and you go down to, I think it's in color. Okay, no, it's in labels. So I've changed all of my labels to be these custom colors. If you want to copy them down, I'll show them right here. These are the color codes. So if you notice that my, the different colors of different sources are different, then this is the reason why I've basically changed all of these to be more closely related to what I use for my subtitles. And if you're wondering where I got these colors from, they're basically just the Minecraft dye colors, if they look familiar. So yeah, I'm just going to show these so that you can copy them if you want. All right, and with that out of the way, let's go ahead and go through these first keys you see here, the F keys and the number keys. These will be the easiest to go through. So what I've set all these keys to do is basically set color. So if I press F1, F2, F3, F4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, minus, and plus, those are all the different colors I set. If you're wondering why the color order is weird and why it's not in like rainbow order, it's because I do it in terms of who is speaking in my videos, most likely, because you'll see in the videos that I make in a bit going over how I edit my videos, but I like to color all of my subtitles. I just set them in terms of who speaks most of my videos. For example, my number 1 key is white because I speak the most, and then the next color is red because Riley's featured in my videos the next most. The grave key, or this key right here, maximize or restore frame under cursor. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know if this is default, but what this does is it brings whatever your mouse is hovering over into a full screen view. So if you want to see this in sort of full screen, you can. If you want to see the timeline in full screen, you can. I don't really use this ever, but it's a cool thing to have. Next up, let's go over these keys Q, W, A, and S. These are probably my most pressed keys on my keyboard whenever I'm editing. So the A and the S keys, pretty simple, zoom in and out. This zooms in and out on the keyboard. You can see I'm pressing S and I zoom in, and then I press A and I zoom out. The Q and E is also pretty simple. Step back 1 frame and step forward 1 frame. This is for more precise edits, so I can zoom in on a place that I want to edit, and then if I press, for example, the W key, then it will move forward a frame, and if I press the Q key, it will move back a frame. This is just so I can get exact areas where I want to move something to. Next up, we'll go over these keys, Z, X, and C, and then the spacebar is like the easiest key to remember ever. So spacebar is obviously pause and play. You press it once to play, you press it again to pause. Now X, Z, and C are where we get most of our edits from. So whenever I press X on the keyboard, which is add edit, whenever I press X, it will create a cut exactly where my timeline is. So for example, if I want to cut at the end of my speaking right here, I would go to the end, press X, and it would create a cut. And then if I wanted to create a cut before I start speaking, I can again go back. I can even adjust with Q and W to get exactly at the start of my speaking, and then press X again and it'll create a cut. So that's pretty simple. What Z does is it creates a cut wherever the playhead is, but then it deletes everything beforehand. So here, let me show you what I mean. Let's say I only want myself talking. I don't want to hear whoever's talking in this area. So I'll skip to the next part where I want to cut. And let's say I want to cut here, but I want to cut everything in between. What I do is I hit the Z key and it will create a cut right here and cut all of that in between area. All of this in between space right here will be cut and moved all the way back into our last cut over here. Hopefully that makes sense. I know that sounds confusing, but this is an extremely helpful tool just for going through and creating cuts like this. You could just go through and absolutely speed through your editing. All right, the C key is a little bit of the same as the Z key. So whenever I create a cut right here, let's say instead of pressing Z to move all of this down to over here, like that, instead of doing this, let's say I just made a cut at the end or at the start of this speaking line. If I wanted to cut all of this in the middle, all of this white block right here, what I can do is I can select it and then I can press my C key, which is the ripple delete key, and this will delete all of what I've selected and then bring everything at this end forward into this end. Like that. So the C and the Z key are both really good for just quickly going through and editing different things like this. You can just cut things in the middle, and both of these are really good to have on hand. All right, next up we'll be going over these keys, E, R, D, and the F key. So the E key is set to clear, and what this will do is whenever we select over something and we hit the E key, it will delete whatever we had selected. This is essentially the same as the delete key. I just moved it around to be closer to the left side of the keyboard. This is really good for just deleting images or deleting audio tracks or just deleting whatever you want. The D key, select clip at end of playhead. I don't use this a lot, but whenever you press this, what it'll do is it will select all of the clips in the way of the playhead. So for example, if I move a couple things around here, ignore the audio being out of sync, but if I now press the D key, it will select everything below the playhead. The reason these two aren't selected at the top is because they aren't highlighted on this end over here, but you get the idea. It will select everything at the end of the playhead. I don't ever use this. I think it's actually a default key, but whatever. Okay, the R, the rate stretch tool. So what the rate stretch tool does is it essentially allows you to select a clip and make it go faster or slower. So how you want to do this is you select your clip, you press R to get the rate select tool. You have to go to the end and make sure it shows this icon you see right here. If it's not showing this icon, it's not going to work. So once you've selected your clip that you want to move, what you can do is if you bring it in closer, it will speed up the clip. As you can see now, this clip is in like fast motion. And if you do the opposite where you drag it out, this clip will be in slow motion, as you can see. And this applies to audio as well. As you can hear, the audio is in slow motion. I obviously don't recommend you do this to entire clips, more of just like a certain section of a clip. So you can select a certain area, expand it to put it in slow motion, and then Thomas, if you keep holding, show whatever in slow motion, or even use it to say, for example, if you want to show, like in Rainbow Six Siege, you want to show your prep phase, but you don't really want it to be that long, you can just speed it up here, and then once it catches up, it'll be in fast, or it'll be in normal motion whenever you want to show what you want to show. Okay, and finally, the F key, the toggle full screen. This is pretty simple. Whenever you press the F key, it will bring this panel up here into full screen so that you can get a better view of what you're looking at. This is really good for just checking your subtitles, or even when you're finished with a video, just going through and re-watching it in full screen just to make sure that everything looks how you want it to look. Next up, we have these keys right here, T, Y, U, I, and O. So the T tool is pretty simple. It's the typing tool. Whenever you press T and then you click on your area, you can now type whatever you want, and you can go through and you can edit all of this stuff. What I mainly use this key for is whenever I have a sort of subtitle and I'm going over, and let's say this is saying something that I need to correct. Maybe I need to remove a punctuation or something like that. What I can do is I just press the T tool. I can hover over the text box, click into it, edit whatever I need to do, type whatever I need, and then click out of it and be good. Next up, we have Y and U, track select forward tool and track select backwards tool. So what these do is whenever you hit, for example, we'll start with Y, you'll see these little arrows pop up. And what this does is wherever you click and drag, it will move everything from wherever you click forward. So for example, you can see I'm clicking right here. So everything in front of this playhead will be moved forward. You can see those two subtitles at the front aren't moved forward because I haven't gone back and selected these. So I can move all of everything in front of this forward if I want. And then with the U key, I can do the exact opposite. So if I only want to move these keys back, I can. I actually can't right here because as you can see, these are already at the end. So whenever I try to move stuff back, it doesn't let me. But if I delete these, you'll see that I can move things backwards. I don't use the U key a lot, although I do use the Y key if I ever need to. For example, let's say I had a clip right here and I need to insert a certain clip or moment in between these two clips. What I might do is select the Y tool, move all of this forward, get whatever clip that I need, and then insert it into the middle over here. Okay, and now we have the I and the O key, the mark in and mark out key. What this allows you to do is set an in point and an out point for things you want to render. So for example, if I want to render from here to maybe here and export this as a clip, maybe to send to Discord or something like that, that's what I can do. You can also move around the edges with this key. There's actually going to be an easier way I'll show you to automatically select your entire project, as you just saw, which we'll get into in a second. But this is really good if you just want to select certain parts of a video you're editing, if you just want to show like a sneak peek of your video, or you just want to upload a certain area of a video to Discord or something. All right, next up, let's go over these keys, G, H, V, B, and the N keys. So the G key I have set as export frame. So what you can do is, let's say there's a certain screenshot you want from the video. If you hit the G key to export the frame, and then you can choose the format and stuff and the name. I'm just going to save it as this. And then I hit OK. Now if I go into wherever I saved that, you can see I now have a screenshot. So this is good if you maybe have a moment from your video you want to turn into a thumbnail maybe, or just a moment from your video that you maybe want to overlay on top. Maybe you want to crop out a certain area of this image to kind of bring it to the middle of the area, just to kind of show off, the kill feed or something like that. This is where you can do that. Next up, we have H, the hand tool. I'm pretty sure this is default. I don't use this like almost at all, but it's a hand tool. It's the same as like in Photoshop and stuff. Just allows you to sort of move around in the timeline better, I guess. I don't really know. It's there though for the people who like it. The V tool is the select tool. So the H is the hand tool, V is select tool. The select tool is the one I'm in like 90% of the time, unless I'm in the typing tool with T. And you can see it over to the left changing when I hit these different buttons. So this is just a faster way of doing that. Okay, I'm gonna be honest, I don't use the B key almost at all. The ripple edit tool, I know what it does, but most of what I've shown you can do what this tool does, but better. So we're just gonna skip over it. And then the N key I have set to keyboard shortcuts. Whenever you press the N key, it'll automatically bring you to this area right here if you want to quickly edit whatever key bind you want, or if you just want to make sure you can check and see whatever key does what if you're, you know, obviously new to using these key binds. All right, next up we'll go over these keys, J, K, L, M, and comma. I'm pretty sure J, K, and L I have as default, by the way. Basically what these do are they're your classic kind of play and pause. So if you hit the L once, it will automatically play. If you hit it again, it will play in 2 times speed. Hit it again, 4 times speed. Hit it again, you get the point. It keeps speeding up. J does the opposite. You can play stuff in reverse. Hit it again to play it in reverse faster. Hit it again to play it in reverse even faster, and then you can hit the K key to automatically stop wherever you are. I don't use these keys a lot unless I'm just sort of messing around and doing stuff like this, but I thought it'd be interesting to mention for people who like doing stuff like that. All right, next up, M, add marker key. This is pretty simple. Wherever you press M, it will create a marker on your playhead. So say for example you want to add an image to here later on, you know, you want to do an edit, you want to maybe fix something, add an image, do whatever, you just hit the M key, it'll create a marker. If you press the M key again, it will bring you to the edit marker thing where you can give it a name, give it a comment. If you want to maybe say like add an image later, you can change the color of the playhead and you can hit OK, and you know, you can still move it around and stuff, but this is just a quick way to go along and create markers. And then comma, the reveal in Explorer tab key button thing. So what this does is whenever you select a certain clip and you hit that key, it will automatically show you in your Explorer where that file is. So you can see this one's from right here and this one is right here, so they're right next to each other. This is really helpful if you have a corrupted file and you need to see where it is in the Explorer to fix it. Sometimes whenever I have a corrupted file, all you have to really do is like rename it something a little bit and it'll fix the file for you. This is just good for finding those different corrupted files in your project. And finally, these are the last of the keys that I sort of use. Any of the other keys that I didn't mention, I either don't use or I just don't know enough about them or don't think they're necessary for people to know about. As you can see, we have the P key, the 2 bracket keys, the colon key, and the question mark or slash key. So starting out with the P key, this is the pen tool. This is for cutting out different things and creating masks of different stuff. I don't think you're ever going to use this. I don't think I've ever used it. However, it is interesting to mention if you are used to Photoshop masking and you want to crop something out a bit better. The pen tool is also one of the most confusing tools in like both Premiere and Photoshop. At least for most people, I've heard it is. So if you want to know more about the pen tool, I recommend you watch a separate video entirely focused on that. The bracket keys are actually simple to understand. So if I expand this audio thing right here by holding Alt and then using my scroll wheel to expand this thing, if we select this and then use the bracket key, you can see I can increase the volume over here. Maybe this is easier than just using by clicking and dragging. This is how I usually do it, is I just click and I drag up and down. However, maybe the brackets are easier for some people. I think you can also get like finer adjustments by doing it that way. So it really just depends on the type of person you are. And finally, the nest key and the slash key. I'm going to save the nest key for last because that's the most confusing. But this key, the question mark or slash or as it's called, mark selection key. This is a better way of using the I and the O keys to select an in and an out point. So how you use this is you will select your entire project. Let me actually copy this and make it look like an actual video here for a second. So your video might look something like this at the very end, and whenever you're ready to export it, what you can do, instead of going to the beginning, selecting an endpoint, and going to the end and selecting an out point with I and O, instead what you can do is you can highlight your entire project and then press the question mark key, also known as the mark selection key, and this will automatically set an endpoint where it detects a start of your video and an out point where it detects the end of your video. So you can see here, I had some subtitles left over at the end, so let me cut these down and then redo that, and you will see it automatically puts an endpoint at the very end of our video. It will do this for things as well, like let's say we just have a clip that we want to export the entirety of. If we select the clip and we press the question mark key, it will automatically put an endpoint and an out point here for us. And this is just a bit easier of a way of doing this sort of thing. And finally, the nest key, also known as the colon key. So nesting is a bit confusing to understand for people who don't really use Premiere a lot. The best way I can describe it as is, think of nesting as creating a sort of folder, like a group in Photoshop, a folder of like different images combined, just combining, flattening two things together. So for example, right here, you can see we have a video in the background and we have a subtitle. If we nest these two things by hitting the colon key, it will ask us to name the nest. I always just keep it default, and you will see those two things now combined. We still have the text and we still have this right here. And if we double click into this nest, we will get the video itself where we can still go ahead and edit it, and we can still go back to our main project. This is really helpful for creating TikToks of our videos. For example, let me actually open a project I was working on previously, my finals video. These are really good for, as you can see, I have a nested sequence right here. This one, if I hide it for a second, you can see that's the background. And this one right here is the main video, including all of the subtitles. So if I hide this right here, you will see the main video goes hidden. Like I said, nesting can be a bit confusing for some people, so I don't blame you if you don't really understand what I said. I don't even think I understand what I said just now. If you have to, you can ignore nesting and just worry about it for your future self, and you should be fine. With all that out of the way, that's basically all that I have for you in this video. I will say, I actually remembered I do use some of the different keys. For example, Control Z for undo, Control C for copy, Control Y for redo, Control S to save. Control M is media extraction or media save. So whenever I press Control M, it will automatically bring me to the export files area. And those are just about all the ones that I use for these different areas. You don't really need any of the other ones. Anyways, that's all I have in this video. Hopefully these keybinds help some of you kind of maybe change some of your keybinds around, or see if you like what I use and you want to use it yourself or something like that. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye everybody.